is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we're discussing An Unexpected Valentine, which originally aired on the Hallmark Channel on Saturday, February 1st, kicking off the Lovey-Wary lineup of movies, and is currently streaming on the Hallmark Plus platform. You can hang out with us, hashtag more Megan and Wendy, on Instagram, where we are Girls Gone Hallmark.
We also have a Girls Gone Hallmark Facebook group we would love for you to join. I will leave a link in our show notes. You can also visit our website, girlsgonehallmark.com, where we just have a lot of great information over there.
It's on
if
and
you're
popping.
looking for if you're looking for, go-to Hallmark information, it's there.
That's the place to be. We're going to get right into it with a synopsis of An Unexpected Valentine.
A chance encounter on Valentine's Day brings Hannah and Finn together as they race through New York City to return a lost engagement ring and save one couple's special day.
Lacey Chabert plays Hannah, not only starring but also serving as executive producer. Lacey boasts an impressive 182 acting credits. You've seen her recently in The Christmas Quest and Hot Frosty.
Robert Buckley, not Junior. Hey, you got to be a longtime listener to get that joke. He plays Finn. He has 30 acting credits to his name. Robert recently was in 'Twas the Date Before Christmas and last year's Blind Date Book Club.
Caitlin Stryker plays Annalisa. Caitlin brings experience with 48 acting credits, including Hallmark hits like Aurora Teagarden Mysteries, Dead at the Diner, and Inventing the Christmas Prince from 2022.
Jess Brown plays Gabby. Jess has 23 acting credits, including appearances in Santa Tell Me, Just in Time, and fan favorite series Chesapeake Shores.
Princess Davis plays Nadine. Princess made her mark in Hallmark's Our Holiday Story in 2024 and Holiday Road in 2023.
Anthony Timpano plays Nate. With 19 acting credits, Anthony has starred in projects like Friday Night Sext, Scandal, wow, Nancy Drew, and Riverdale. Hallmark fans may also recognize him from Our Christmas Journey in 2021.
I love how his back-to-back credits listed here are The Sext, Scandal, and then Nancy Drew on the CW.
I know.
The teleplay was written by Nicole Baxter. Nicole has 21 writing credits, including 2 Scoops of Italy, Blind Date Book Club, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and her very first Hallmark movie, Love at First Bark, from 2017. The story is by Jennifer Barrow and Nicole Baxter. Jennifer's resume includes writing credits for Christmas on Call, Dating the Delaney's, and Dater's Handbook, with 11 credits overall.
This movie was directed by Michael Robeson. Michael is a seasoned director with 90 credits, including A Novo Noel, Holiday Crashers, and Family Practice Mysteries Coming Home, all released in 2024.
Let's take a quick break and come right back to talk first impressions of An Unexpected Valentine. Wendy, what was your first impression of An Unexpected Valentine?
My first impression is I would rather walk miles in bad shoes than ride in the third row seat of an SUV.
Oh, felt some solidarity with Carsick Lacey over there.
I get super carsick. Yeah, that is a living nightmare for me.
Especially in the winter where like the heat's turned up too high. And
God. When it's that dry, hot air blowing on you. Yeah. And in New York City where it's like stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. I would barf all over the second row.
Totally. Last weekend, I went out with some friends and there were 6 of us. So my friend with a minivan drove and I volunteered as tribute and sat in the third row. And at one point, my fellow third row passenger was like, could you turn the air up just a little bit? It was getting a little stuffy back there.
Oh, boy.
She bounced and did not sit in the third row for the next several times we had to get in and out of the car. And I sat there every single time. Thank you very much. So.
Oh. Well.
That's right. I'm a good person.
I was thinking good for you that you don't get motion sickness. You're like, yes, I'm a good person.
I am. I climbed back there, and it's not easy to climb in and out of the third row of a car at 45 years old. That's meant for 9-year-olds and their bendy limbs.
Small little children who can just like hop over a back seat. Yep, exactly.
Yes. My first impression is the long, hard winter parentheses escape is over, and Lovey-Wary is here to save us all.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
You loved this movie?
Let's find out.
Okay. Hit me with your likes.
Well, let's just broad strokes. I thought this movie was so fun. I like that our Valentine's Day story is not about like either of their Valentine's Day relationships. It's just happening in and around Valentine's Day. I like that the vast majority of the movie is set in this car. Very fun and unique.
Yes, same.
I liked the quest aspect of it. Like we gotta get this done. That made it very fun. It felt as silly as it is maybe for Hannah to like see it through with Finn. It also kind of made sense. Like you could see why she'd be like, no, we got to get this done. I was all in. And I thought Lacey and Robert Buckley Not Jr. were an absolutely delightful pairing who bantered so well. I have some more likes, but why don't you tell me some of yours?
I mean, you just about zeroed out my list. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll just get into the nitty-gritty details of it all. That's all.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Initially, I thought, I'm going to hate this movie because of how much it takes place in the car. I was like, it's going to be bad green screen all the time. But it was actually really clever. And I thought that having Finn be this rideshare driver just kind of like was a fun twist. Maybe we haven't ever seen. I'm sure there's like movies with like, I'm a cab driver or whatever. Anyway, of course, they did spend a lot of time in the car and it worked for me. Like, I didn't think it was bad. I'm sure some of it was green screen, but there were also a lot of like very cool point of view shots. Like, we got to see like out front of the windshield from like the driver's point of view. And then there were also some really cool shots with like lighting from signage or street lights or whatever, like glaring down on the car from the outside. Just so, I thought it worked. I thought it was really cool.
I totally agree. You're 100% right. It could have gone the bad green screen direction. I think part of it is like I was really captivated by the action inside. Like I was all in on their conversation. It wasn't boring. So I wasn't drawn to like, let me look at the streets go by. Although I did look at all of that. To your point about him being a rideshare driver, I actually think it's a cool way. Him having two jobs when one of his jobs is a photographer who's trying to like make it big is super realistic. And I think old Hallmark would have leaned into like, yeah, I live in New York and I'm a photographer who is not famous. How am I sustaining this job? And reality Hallmark is like, yo, I pay my bills because I'm a rideshare driver by day. So yeah, I liked that piece of it.
Back to your point about like the conversations that were happening in the car, like even at one point, one of them mentions, I think it was Finn, who says like, oh, you get to know somebody so well by being with them in the car, which is so true. So true. I very much enjoyed all their scenes that they were in their car, but also for me, I very much enjoyed that they weren't just driving, that they got to do like these other activities that or be part of these other activities. Like, for example, like the pizza making, right? Like they stumbled onto this like pizza making thing and they were like kind of forced to do it. Or when they delivered the balloons, and which I thought was so funny that they had this car full of balloons and it was like, yes, we've all been there, right? We know what that's
like peering through the balloons, trying to help him see into the next lane. Yes, so good.
Very funny. The art class, I laughed my ass off. I was like, I don't know if I've seen Lacey ever be so kind of silly,
physically
playful.
Comedic. Yeah.
Playful is the word I'm looking for here. Yeah, like it just was very funny. And then my favorite is when they were dancing at the club to Love Shack.
Oh my gosh. So fun. And Robert Buckley lip syncing Love Shack was so great. And then you
Yes.
get those like few slow-mo moments.
Yes. Yes. I
Really
loved all of that. It was all just extra fun. And then, like, of course, then they like walk out and he's like, tin roof rusted. It just was, I freaking loved all of that. I loved all of that. Can we talk about Robert Buckley for a minute?
All day long.
The guy is real funny. I
So
thought his
funny.
comedic timing was fantastic. Like his delivery really worked. And I thought Lacey had a really great playful energy together.
I fully agree. The comedy in this movie is so good. When he screams yes when they're in the convenience store and he's like acting like she's proposing. So
Yeah.
funny. There's some other great lines. When they're at the drawing class and Lacey's in a pose and the teacher's like, okay, now don't move. And he's like, brace your core. And she's like, what's a core?
Yeah.
The little Mikey scene when Viv Lee
Fell off his skateboard and landed on his afro. I died. I was like, wait, what did I just hear?
And I also love the visual comedy of little Mikey being like 2 feet taller than both of his parents, because you're expecting like this 8-year-old who like took a little tumble and it's their big giant teenager. I loved it.
Yep.
I just thought it was really funny.
It was very funny. Very, very funny. Two more little things that I liked. At the very top of the episode, we get a radio host voiceover, which I thought was kind of a cool touch because, I mean, at this point, we didn't know how much like they were going to be in the car together. Honestly, I didn't even see a preview to this movie. I didn't know like the rideshare thing even was a thing about this movie, right? So it didn't even dawn on me like we're hearing this like radio announcer, which is synonymous with like being in a car, right? I just thought it was a cool touch to the opening.
Yeah, and then we continue to hear her throughout, like when it starts raining and they're like, the rain has arrived, and it's that same voice. I liked that. I saw a preview, but the only preview I saw was that scene in the convenience store with like the mistaken proposal. So I didn't really know what this movie was about in that moment. But you're right, when we hear that radio announcer, my brain did not go to we're going to be in the car. I was just like, oh, it's an interesting, like better than just B-roll shots of the city with music. It's like setting up that it's Valentine's Day and that it's raining. But I didn't make the full leap until we heard her later on in the car.
But don't you kind of think too that I just think kudos to whoever dreamt this up, because for me, I am nearly 50 years old. I have spent a lot of time in the car. I have done like road trips, like whatever. I've done rideshare too. And there's something about like hearing a car radio. It's not a car radio announcer, but like a radio announcer about like what the traffic is and what the weather's like. And it's very like just put you into that space of like, oh, this is familiar. I've been in a car. I can now relate to these people who are going to be in a car in this entire movie. Does that make sense where I'm going with that?
No, totally. I mean, it definitely immediately sets the scene. You're like, we are one because we're listening to the Valentine's Day weather announcement. And they all say the same stuff, like, you still have time to get out there and get your chocolates and your flowers.
Right. Right. My last little like is I loved that Finn and Hannah just click from the start. There's no forced enemies to lovers trope here. It's instant chemistry and naturally flirty. Like that's what would happen between two people who like each other.
Yeah, when she walks up to that rideshare, he's just lovely to her throughout. Like he's just like a cool dude that you would enjoy spending time with. And when she gets in the front seat and she's like looking at his candy and she's like, well, that's so charming. Like that he was like, is it? But they bantered. There was no meanness. And I was like, yes, I am here for this level of relationship development.
Yeah, I'm just really tired of like, it has to be contentious first before being love. It's just like, it's not always like that.
No.
Anyway, do you have any more likes?
Nope.
Let's talk wishes. I do have a few.
Oh, do you?
I do.
I You really only have one.
Okay, go ahead.
It's, girl, it doesn't take that long to kiss, and then you can go to your party.
Oh, you're so funny.
So they're about to kiss, and she's like, we really got to go. And I was like, it's an extra couple of seconds. Like, let the moment happen.
Well, since you brought that up, a work party and an art show on Valentine's Day, totally unrealistic.
I agree.
Nobody is scheduling these events on the most couple-forced night of the year.
And lasting until midnight. Also, like, no venue is going to, it would cost an absolute fortune to have an event in that restaurant space on Valentine's Day. So there's no way it's rented out for a corporate event.
Yeah, so these kind of like manufactured obstacles, I didn't find like, oh, they both had to get to something. Okay, fine. Have it just be they both had to get to something. Like, I don't know. People are probably like, oh, Wendy, you should just overlook these things. Blah, 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 blah. But
yeah, but they could have each had their friends having Valentine's Day parties or dinners that they were trying to get to. I think they needed the events to be happening over a long period of time, and they needed to have like some reason to need to be there other than it just being social. But I fully agree. Like, neither of these events are going to actually be happening on.
yeah, I see. Because if it was a social event, they could easily have dipped out and not
Just be
gone.
like, sorry, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah,
because
whereas
their activity with Finn and Hannah is equal to going to a social event, whereas like work, there's the obligation.
Right.
They're both trying to further their careers. It's like the Christmas lighting on Christmas Eve situation.
Right. My next wish is the chocolate purse. I have no idea what's going on here. Who's buying a chocolate purse? Explain this to me. Because all I see is like, it's similar to like a big chocolate bunny. It's totally like impractical and difficult to eat, right? Nobody's carrying around a chocolate purse. It's going to melt. So how is that fashion? What is happening?
Well, in my house, we do buy the big chocolate bunny and the big chocolate Santa from See's Candy at every season. So I do agree that they are impractical, but they do also get eaten in our house.
Yeah, but you got to hack away at it with like a knife or break at it.
100%. Or
It's
just like bite off his ears. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree
don't
that
do
it's weird.
It's weird.
The purse is quite large. And also, I think it was like filled. So
Yeah, is it a chocolate purse filled with chocolates inside of it?
That's not my understanding. My understanding is the whole purse is like a chocolate item, like a singular item with some sort of filling in it. But
Why is her like initiative called like what's inside your purse then?
that's a good question.
Look,
Yeah,
I'm telling you, there's a lot of questions here.
And her
And I don't
coworker's
get
like,
it.
what's with the mystery element? And I was like, I agree with you. Did not care about the purse at all. I didn't care about like Lacey needing to be there to meet up with like the bigwigs. I didn't care about that at all. I cared a little bit about Finn making it to his art show.
Same.
But I'm with you. Like Lacey's storyline, I cared far more about Lacey and Finn. I was like, forget this job.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird. I mean, they opened the movie with all of that, so it feels like it's important. And then, like, it's kind of abandoned in terms of, like, yes, it's like a party later on that she needs to be at. But,
well, I also think it's a mismatch because her job is she's a flavor finder.
She's
a
some sort of
scientist.
scientist. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a food chemist. So all she needs to do is like create the flavor, but she has then created this whole
Yes.
surprise
why?
flavor inside the purse. And everyone's like, are you sure you don't want to go into marketing? And I'm like, yeah, that's very confusing to me that she's not actually in marketing because the food scientist is not presenting at this meeting showing off the pretty purse. The food scientist is like behind the scenes, like, this tastes good. Here, make it into something.
Like in a lab with a white coat on and a hairnet, mixing flavor profiles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Two more wishes I had. One, you kind of hit on in your likes. The urgency to return, the urgency to return the ring by the end of the night. It made sense. Right? Like, I get it, but I also didn't find it totally believable because I think there would be some sort of protocol for returning lost items that you would find in a car. You wouldn't just like go track these people down.
100%. And the protocol was like return it to the warehouse, which was, I think, in Brooklyn or the corporate office. And he was like, I don't have time to get over there. So then she was like, well, then let's just find the people. Because her point was like, if you return it tomorrow to Brooklyn, they're never going to get their item back tonight on Valentine's Day, when obviously they're supposed to be proposing.
No, I get it. I understand all of that.
So they just subverted protocol.
There's no confusion here about it. I understand what they were trying to do. I just don't find it totally believable because one, tracking down like former writers feels like it might be against policy and a little bit creepy, a little bit against privacy. I don't know. Like it just seems weird. But also, I have heard in instances where, like, if you've left your wallet in the car or whatever, there is some sort of way to message the driver or the rider, I believe. Like, so instead of like driving and tracking these people down, why wouldn't they just shoot them a message and be like, did you leave something in the car? Look, I get they needed to do all these things for the sake of the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I don't think it was super realistic.
Yeah, I would be a little creeped out if my rideshare driver like tracked me down at a bar.
Yeah, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here, stalker? Like, no. Yeah, that seems super like, what's the word I'm looking for? Invasion of privacy?
Yeah, invasive for sure.
Anyway. But that's all.
All right, you ready for Did You See That?
Sure.
I just have two little things.
Go ahead.
One is it me or is the Alouette chocolate purple the same as the Hallmark Plus purple?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I was like, oh, they just repurposed some of these Hallmark Plus backgrounds with some Alouette branding.
Yeah. Right.
My other Did You See That is I love that Gabby was flirting with a woman at the bar when they went and found her.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't even clock that. I didn't even I just was thinking she was like hanging with a friend there. I didn't realize it was like a potential something, but I did like how she was like, "Oh, do you want a drink?"
Yeah, like, I'm driving. I could be wrong. That's how I read the situation.
Hey, whatever, right? Is that it? That's all you had? I have a few. Lacey wears one outfit the entire time. Kind of loved it.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been silly anyway, other way.
It totally would have been silly any other way, but I actually also really like the outfit too. I like when Lacey is a little bit more edgy. We talked about this when she was in The Christmas Quest. I don't like that sweet and precious Lacey in the, full skirt.
Her wedding veil persona.
It doesn't do it for me. I really liked her when she was in The Christmas Quest, and I really liked her in this movie because she was a little bit more funny. Anyway, and I think costuming has a lot to do with that to me. Like when it's like a precious, like pretty sundress, I'm like, I'm bored.
Yeah, the leather jacket does a lot of work in this movie. I feel like
boots.
Look, we know she's Gretchen Wieners. Like, we know she can be funny, but I just feel like she's found her comedic voice on Hallmark recently, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. The next thing is, and we talked about this in our last movie, but the height difference between our two lead characters here.
Oh, yeah?
Buckley is quite tall. He's 6'2". Lacey is 5'2", according to the internet. I didn't really notice because they were like sitting a lot in the car, but I noticed it at the end when they were met up in their lobby or whatever. He's much taller than she is. Much taller.
Interesting.
A few more. You mentioned it quickly, but Viv Leacock.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Nice little cameo.
Were you just near where the filming took place? And you're like,
were you on a break from When Calls the Heart?
Yeah. But even I was like, wait a minute, was that Viv Leacock? I had to watch the ending credits to make sure that was actually him, and indeed it was. two more little things. She takes a selfie. Hannah takes a selfie of her and Finn with his camera that has like a big, huge lens on it.
I know, it'd be up their noses.
Yeah. And it was like a great picture. I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. Finally, Hannah's boss calls her the Queen of Valentine's Day, which made me laugh.
Oh, funny.
Because we know she's the Queen of Christmas. So
Indeed.
thought it was good. What did you rate An Unexpected Valentine?
I gave it 4.5 stars.
As did I. Exactly
Wow.
on the nose. Yeah.
I almost, like, my initial reaction was like, this is a 5-star movie. And then I was like, there's some things that I need to like pick away at. But this was such an enjoyable watch. If you haven't watched it yet, if you're burned by some winter escape madness, or if you're just like, movies don't get good until Christmas, please watch this.
Yeah, it was a great start to Loveyuary. I have high hopes for Loveyuary.
Me too.
I mean, they're doing a little bit of shuffling of the schedule.
When I think about our year, I think this movie has high potential for making our top 5 non-holiday movies of the year.
Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Well, it's funny because if I look back to 2024, last February was the whole Jane Austen thing. And while not my favorite, there were like 1 or 2 standout movies. I can't remember the names right now. American and Austin?
Paging Mr. Darcy. You liked Paging Mr. Darcy.
I think I liked Paging Mr. Darcy, and I liked An American in Austin, where she was like time traveling a little bit.
Yeah.
She woke up in a dream. Anyway,
I liked Sense and Sensibility, even though you hated it. And I don't think most people liked it, but I found it delightful.
my point is, I think February is usually a like solid month for Hallmark. And then March gets a little bit, and then we get into April, like into spring gets good. And then of course, the rest of the year plays out. But so it's like, I think we have like highs, lows, highs, lows.
Well, I know you're already predetermined to dislike March because we have 3 royal movies. Although we don't have dates on all of them, we only have an official release date for the first one. Wendy's already trying to figure out how we can fully tap out of
I'm like,
March.
can I take some time off in March? And does anybody want to come and be a co-host?
Oh my,
podcast?
should we? That would be so funny. Should we just have a string of different co-hosts all March long?
should. It's like Wendy can't, or Wendy will quit the podcast. So
That's funny.
do it.
No.
Email us, girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com.
I have a thought. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. The best place to leave them is the Apple Podcast app, but you can also rate and leave comments in Spotify. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.